for joining me today and dripping some knowledge. I'm so excited to have you.
Thanks, Abby. It's always fun doing these with you.
I know. You're always the best because really when it comes to deciphering how a practice is doing based on their analytics, their own practice numbers, you're really the best at it. You're able to go in, you're able to see how's the practice doing and how can they do better, right? Finding those holes. So let's just dive into it and let me know what numbers do practices need to identify to really understand the health of their overall practice.
So at any one time, Abby, we're monitoring over 100 practices that we work with and improving their systems and so forth. And, if you think about from a dental perspective, what is it that our dentists are trying to do for their practice and their patients? And that's to get them healthy, right? So to
Absolutely.
me, the number one number that we like to monitor that tells us the overall health and how the systems are going for the practice is in the areas of case acceptance. The first thing we look at is the dollars we present. In other words, the treatment we find. How many dollars did we present? And what we're looking for is a 50% case acceptance. So if we diagnose $10,000, we want $5,000 to schedule. So that's the number one that we're looking for, 50%. And that really puts our practices in the top 10, in a lot of cases, 5% of the practices in the country. The second number we're looking at is of the patients we present treatment to, we're looking for 80% or 8 out of 10 patients to schedule the treatment presented, or at least phase one of the treatment presented before they walk out the door. So we set a goal of 50% of the dollars, 80% of the patients to schedule. And from there, it really gives us an indication how all the other systems are working. Case presentation, financial arrangements, scheduling, all of that comes together because the end goal is getting patients to say yes to treatment and most importantly, having a happy, healthy patients. When they don't have problems, they're referring their friends, they're telling others, they're showing up, they're keeping their appointment. But those are the two biggest numbers that we look at.
Yeah, makes total sense. In order to produce the most that you're gonna and collect, you have to make sure that you're getting treatment, not only proposing it. So I feel like there is that fear, right? To propose it initially, to do it right. And then of course, with the fear of not being accepted for the
Right.
treatment. And it, and you can't, if you don't do it at all, then you're not, to your very point, you're not helping your patients. You're not there for a reason to actually make sure that they're getting the treatment that they need.
Right. And looking at those numbers for many practices can kind of start to open up a can of worms. For example, if we had a full schedule today and we diagnosed $1,000, and let's say that patient scheduled the only thing found, we're at 100% case acceptance. But the problem from that is we're not finding enough work. So some practices in need of new patients because their schedule's full of patients that are already healthy. So if I've been practicing for 20 years and always doing really well with my case acceptance, I might have a full schedule, but with no one needing work. So then we need to look at companies like yours that are awesome at getting new patients in the door. So that whole case acceptance really is where the story starts for all systems. If we're finding the work, are we converting the work? And do we have the systems training of the team to help patients schedule, afford the work, in other words, working financial arrangements out. Even when a new patient calls up, how soon can we get them in? So there's a whole lot of numbers, that we like to track. I think if we were going to add a third number that we like to monitor is what we call the new patient positive 16. So if I'm one doctor in a solo location, if I'm getting 16 new patients a month, basically one new patient a day, most would consider that a good number. But if I'm losing 16 patients for retention, I'm no longer green and growing, I'm ripe and rotten, right? So I got one in and one out, right? So we like to make sure our practices are growing at a positive 16. So if they're getting 30 new patients a month, they can lose 14 or dismiss 14, or 14 can move, pass away, go to another dentist or whatever. But we need to have that positive 15 or 16, because we want to make sure we have the growth. And that's where we rely on you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's such a good point because a lot of times practices are saying, I have new, or new's not a problem. but they're running out the back door. So having positive 16, that's brilliant. And I know in dental intel, you have that great scale that you can see what's new, what's
Right.
under, what's recaptured, what are you losing out the back door. And absolutely, I mean, when it comes to cases, we always ask doctors, what's the right case? What are the cases you want to do more of? Because you can be more particular. And when it comes to your marketing and when it comes to looking for new patients, if you have a healthy practice, to your very point, and you're treating the patients you want and they're good to go, but you need that new to really start proposing to and accepting, you can adopt your marketing to actually attract those patients you want, as in people that are looking for dental implants, people that are looking for restorative, Invisalign, higher value treatment. And it really just comes down to, what do you want to do more of, and make sure you're telling your marketing company that, or your consultant that, so you can be strategic. It's not just new, it's the quality of new. So it's, if we're doing a Google ad, it's not just like, oh, we accept new patients. It's we have dental implants, and it's making sure you can even get granular and figure out what people are searching for and be able to like target. It's crazy, especially with Facebook, how granular you can get when it comes to targeting people. But to your point too, internal, educating people, letting them know what their opportunities are so they stay with the practice and they accept as well.
And, you mentioned dental intel, and there's a lot of tracking softwares out there, and they monitor your numbers. One of the things that, Dental Intel is the company that we use the most and that we really enjoy. And it's not even the monitoring that is really the power of Dental Intel. It's the ability to follow up and find the patients that you really like. Now, rumor has it you might like to go out and have a beer or cocktail once in a while. Is that true?
You caught me.
Okay. Do you ever play darts?
Of course, yes.
So if you're starting off playing darts, one of the things you just want to do is make sure you hit the board, right? And then you're trying to hit a certain number, and then maybe you're trying to hit the middle, and then the ultimate is the bullseye. One of the things I like about Dental Intel and the things that you guys do is it's like playing darts. We can hone in on exactly what we want to find, or we can just stand back and throw at the board whatever we want to do. And so if a doctor, if a doctor wants to focus in on one particular area, we have the ability to do that, or we can go to the bigger scope of things in what we're looking at. So, with DI, if we want to do more of this type of work, or patients who need this particular procedure, we can dial in. And one of the things we enjoy about working with you, if we want patients to do more sleep apnea type procedures, or more implants, or more crown and bridge, you have marketing tools to help find those patients. And that's where we as a coach, the right software, Dental Intel, the right marketing company like you guys, it's a pretty good trio.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is working everything together. So as a practice, I think it's also great for them, everybody as a whole that's part of the team, understand what the doc wants to do more of, make that clear with the team, and then be able to tell your coach, your consultant, and making sure that, you're executing it through marketing. If they're all doing the same thing, then you're going to get better to that bullseye, versus trying to just throw as many darts as possible and you're not communicating. So not everybody's on the same path. And that's why, we love working with you. Well, we can always be on the same path and communicate that.
Right. And for example, if I interview doctors all the time that are wanting to work with us, and I'll say, all right, what is the definition of the right patient in the hygiene chair? And they're like, somebody will show up and pay their bill. And I'll ask them, well, what if we can also get patients who will show up who doesn't have a history of canceling, no showing, but also that needs care, like that needs treatment. So using our resource of Dental Intel, we can find the patients not only that are overdue, but when was their last visit, how much treatment do they have outstanding, and what is their history of canceling and no showing. Now that's great for the finder. That's like using that metal detector on the beach, right? Now we found the patient, but now we have to dig it up and invite them in. So we put in systems on how we contact those patients. What do we say? What do we do? What is the sequence? And then pretty soon, instead of having a full hygiene department, we have a hygiene department full of patients who need our care. Then we measure, how do we get those patients doing the work? Are we getting the 50% of the dollars, 80% of the patients? Then we can look at, are we scheduling effectively? Are we making financial arrangements effectively? are we following up with the patients? Dentistry is really, really simple if you make it that way. You invite them in, you find out what their needs and wants are, you're friendly, polite, and courteous. The doctor comes in and makes a diagnosis. You present financial options, which are a way to help the patient get the work done. You schedule the work effectively, you do the work, and you invite them back. And it's really that simple if you focus on the right 5 or 6 things. A lot of other stuff is just busy work.
Yeah. Oh, you just gave away the plan. Was that it right there, the roadmap?
It's part of it, and you got to treat people
Yeah.
so well that they want to tell their friends and family. If you look at the best companies out there, they don't even focus on new customers. They focus on retention of existing customers. Now, we want new patients. Don't get me wrong. I love all the new clients that we get, as do you. And we want new patients in the practice, but we want to get the right new patients. And then we want patients saying yes. And it's all about providing care and having a great team.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It really comes, and I think that's what's so powerful about looking at your numbers, identifying because a lot of times you look, when I talk to a dentist, they're always going to be saying, not always, there's times that when you talk to them and you ask what their pain points are, it's the same answer. But when you get in and see the numbers, you find there's so many different elements to the problem. So it could be, or maybe they're doing great, but they really just want to go the next level, right? You have to know your numbers. You have to know what numbers you're looking at to help identify what you need to do more of.
Right.
So for instance, unscheduled active patients is a big number that we like to look at. We like to see, to your very point, proposed treatment and accepted treatment, but then also what patients have already been in your office, you've already created that relationship with, but they don't have an appointment on the books. And how long has it been? Is there a big group in there that we can actually go after and communicate to get them back? Because you've worked so hard to get new patients, to get the new people to join, and then you paid for them and you let them walk right out the back door.
Yeah.
Well, if you nurture them and you educate them and you're their provider, right, that they want to go to, and you make it easy for them to act, they will stay with you. Nobody wants to start over
No, they don't.
and have a new. And just like, that's the greatest part about getting a new patient is like, oh my gosh, I get to watch your journey. And with any industry, right? Like the whole point of getting a new client, a new customer, a new patient is that experience. Like I get to start my journey with you and go throughout. But if you just greet them and say, yeah, this is what we're going to do, and then let them run away, that's not fun for anybody because everybody has to start over. They have to keep getting the new. But if you retain them and keep them going, I love your game plan. That's exactly it. It's just by making sure you get them in, you make it easy for them to act, you nurture them, you take care of them, you're kind, you're courteous, you're there for them. And then you keep asking them to come back, and then you refer out and ask them to invite their friends and family because you want more like-minded people.
Right.
It's recurring.
And you mentioned like the pain points, and one of the things that I've really noticed is, when it comes to knowing your numbers, a lot of people like to avoid the numbers because then it becomes reality. And
yes.
And the other part is, I'm surprised in today's world how many people are okay with being just okay, right? So they don't. I find people change for only one of two reasons: having to or wanting to, but they have to have what I call the bad enough factor. There's things I want to do, there's things I have to do, but until it's bad enough, I'm not going to change. Whether it's marketing to bring in new patients, we get enough new patients. No, you don't. Or our production's fine. Yeah, it's fine, but who wants to be fine, right?
Yeah.
So we're constantly challenging our doctors to hit a new level. And so improving your systems and looking at where you're at, knowing what to do with those numbers, having a system to improve those numbers. Like if they're looking for how do we get more patients of a particular kind, even though we're getting new patients, doesn't mean you want to keep them, right? So one of the things that doctors make, I think, a mistake on is they get an influx of new patients, but are they the type we want? They're late, they don't show, They don't pay the bill, they don't do the treatment. Well, love them out of the practice and invite somebody else in that you have room for that wants you as much as you want them. It's like this Tinder dating, if you will. Swipe left if they're not the right patient. Don't go on another date, right? And so you don't have
Right.
to keep everybody, but you want the right people. And if you really know your numbers and understand what the numbers mean, you're in a better place. And that's where a coach like me, a coach like you, that can really help a practice grow is taking those numbers and then putting an action plan to improve the numbers. If you step on the
Yes.
scale, which direction do most people want it to go? They want it to go down.
Down.
But there are people who want it to go up. Their program is to gain weight, to bulk up. You've got to decide which way you want to tip that scale.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny is when you're talking about when you're waiting and you're maybe you don't want to move yet. It's not hurting you as much. I think of the patient situation. Like, isn't that what doctors say every
Yeah.
single day? Why are you waiting to be in pain
Right.
when we could avoid that?
Right.
Why are you waiting to be in pain
Right.
when we could avoid that? Like you can put a plan together and identify new patients, unscheduled active patients, proposed treatment, accepted treatment, reappointment, recall, making sure that those numbers are where you want them. And it's really then identify the numbers, put your goals into place of what you want to get them to, and talk to your team about, hey, why do you think this is an issue, right? Like maybe it's not just on you, doc. Like maybe propose an acceptance, that's going to be on you, right? But is it not? Like maybe when it gets to the financial team, it's not going as planned.
Right.
Or maybe they're bringing a scenario, doc, they don't trust you with implant. Like I'm getting people that are pushing back because they don't know if they should go to a specialist for endo or for implants or sleep apnea, right? Like I'm getting pushback here. You don't know those problems unless you ask your team and find out the pushback that they're getting. Or it might be, the individuals as well, like figuring out, is it the way that you're presenting it? Is it the way that we're pitching it? Is it the way that we're talking about it? Can we better educate them? Do they understand their financial options? Do they understand if they don't do this, what will happen, right? Like I think it's so easy, and I'm the same. I'm so inundated with marketing every single day that I'm talking over people's heads. And then when I break it down, I'm like, oh, wait, they're not in those conversations that I have every day. I have to break this down. I have to make sure that it's as granular as possible to make them feel comfortable and to give them that time and that platform to build that trust. You don't know that unless you talk to your team.
Yeah, I tell our docs all the time, when you tell me you need more new patients, it's too late. You don't want to wait till then. And then I get doctors that are booked so far out, they're like, well, I really don't need them. Well, then that's a scheduling issue because you should not only need them, but want them. Because for every new patient you get, there's some patients that are completed treatment that just show up for cleanings, don't refer, don't contribute to the practice. So again, there's nothing wrong with not really growing your overall patient base, but you want to constantly have a patient base that is right for you, that respects your team, that does the work, that pays their bill. And you can trade some patients out. A football team, when they do their preseason, there's only so many players they can have, but they recruit more. And then as they start auditioning, if you will, or trying out, they start making the cut till they get the final roster. Well, a dental office is like that with your patients. You should have, your 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 patients. And you can grow and bring on, another doctor, associate, and so forth, or additional hygiene. But build the practice of your dreams with the patients that respect you and that want to be there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That's where you're at majority of your life is at your job, especially for a practice. You're an entrepreneur, you're an owner, and make sure it's somewhere you want to go, and patients are a big impact on your day to day, and you do have control over who's with you every day.
Right.
You have total control.
And it really all starts with really understanding your numbers. What is your patient base? How much service can we provide? How many hygienists do we have? Are our patients compliant in doing the work? Even Medicaid patients, we just have to see more patients to get where we want to be. But it's all about having that plan, understanding your numbers, but most importantly, having the tools to make those numbers move the direction you want them to go. Be it up or down, you have to have the tools, but it's a basic understanding of your numbers. And
Yeah.
we've been partnered with a company called Dental Intel for a long time. And why? They're one of the best. They're constantly making improvements. And we try to put our clients in front of companies like you, Dental Intel, and a few others that just do the best in the business at helping practices be the type of practice they want to be.
100% agree. We're also partnered with Dental Intel, obviously, and their numbers, the way they're able to break it down and to really identify what's going on with a practice and to make it digestible. I think that's what gets a little overwhelming is there's so much, and what am I looking at? Why am I looking at it? And I want this to go up, but why do you want this to go up? Just really figuring that out. But Kelly, let me ask you this. When you're looking at the numbers or just as a whole for practices, what are missed opportunities that most practices neglect?
The biggest one is follow up, right? So a statistic in a survey done is the number one reason a patient will leave your practice is lack of indifference or caring by the doctor or staff. 68% of the patients that leave for that reason alone. It's not fees,
Wow.
it's not insurance, it's not the uncontrollable. They don't die or move away. Those are small percentages. But almost 7 out of 10 leave because of lack of indifference by the doctor or staff. So if you take the simple area of recall, if you don't invite the patient in every 3 or 6 months, they think it's not that big a deal. If a patient cancels and you say, well, okay, let's get you rescheduled, well, the patient thinks it's okay to cancel or reschedule. But the number one is, if I were to present to you, Abby, that you needed $1,000 worth of work, most people don't make $1,000 decisions on the spot. They don't say no, they say not yet, right? So like if you go out shopping, you see something you really like, you don't have that 1,000 now, but boy, try to stop you from getting it, right? You're gonna cut back on this or that till you got that grand and you go back and buy it. So when it comes to treatment, a lot of doctors and staff, and really more than staff, the doctor lets the patient know what they need or want or to improve. They go up front, the patient says, wow, that's a lot of money, I can't afford that right now. And the front desk doesn't have a follow-up system to invite that patient back. So if you tell me you don't have the money and I'm the front desk and I don't follow up with you, 3, 4, 5 months go by, what are you thinking about the treatment the doctor presented? Well, it's not that important. If I wait 3 months to call you, why am I calling you now? Is it because I care? Because I want your money? So
Because you want my money.
timeliness of follow-up. So when someone tells you no or not yet, we make sure there's a system in place of follow-up and communication, not to get them to schedule, but to let them know they care. So for example, if you were in our office and you didn't schedule your treatment, we're going to send a photo of that treatment and a letter letting you know that, hey, I'm concerned as your doctor that you didn't schedule this tooth. It could break, fracture, and cost you more. We'd like to help you avoid that. Give us a call. And we send that letter up, and then 10 days later, I'm not calling to get you scheduled. I'm calling to make sure you got the letter because you know the doctor cares. And then, by the way, would you like to schedule this week or next? And then we see a big, big uptick. Dental Intel posted a great article that we wrote about case acceptance recently and thanked us because our case acceptance rate, as we said, was 80.1% of the patients and just over 50% of the dollars, which is just phenomenal in terms of results. Our average client last year increased 306,000 in production and collection last year over the previous year. Those are some
Kelly, that's amazing.
Those are pretty big
gosh.
numbers. And I know you're a numbers gal, and so when they showed us those, or we showed them the numbers we had, we thought we were doing really good. We found out we were doing awesome, and really, when I say we, I mean our practices implementing our systems are just blowing it out of the water and just doing phenomenal things. So we know we're on the right track.
Good. Heck yes. I love that. You should brag on that to everybody. That's amazing to see the results. And it shows that it works.
We have a great article out there. I think we put it on our social media wall, and it's probably on our LinkedIn, but.
Yeah, we can include it. We'll include it in this post.
I'll get it.
Drop it in there. But that's brilliant to actually be able to see that it works. And I agree, it's touch points, right? That's a whole concept of marketing as well, is touch points and making sure that you stay in front of people. Because we have attention spans as
Oh
little as
yeah,
a goldfish. Like
yeah,
it's nothing now. And to think that dentistry is top of mind unless we're in pain, it's not. But we want to prevent it. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our smile. Or for any business, if you're serving anything, that there's a reason that you're a business, and that's why you've got to make sure it's known. But your letter is a great example of a transitional call to action, that you're not asking someone to marry them. You're asking somebody to just go on a date,
yep,
right? So you're just saying one little thing, like you're not forcing it, but you are staying prevalent. You are staying in front of them to say, hey, we're here and we care about you.
right,
Like, do we want to move forward? Or if you do, I'm here, but no pressure.
right.
It's your call. It's your health. It's totally your call.
And that
It,
biggest missed opportunity is follow up, Abby, on anything.
yeah.
That's where most doctors or offices have a breakdown. They have follow up, but they don't have a method behind it. There's a fine line between bugging a patient and caring for a patient. And over the
Yes.
30 years we've been in business, we found that line and we go right up to it and try not to go over it. And even when we go over it, we have a way to fix that as well. And so, that's really one of the keys to our secret sauce. I mean, just like our doctors, 80% of our business is repeat or constant. And when we first started in the business, we were 85% new clients year after year. We've kind of transitioned over the years to now we're 80% retention, and we only take on a limited amount of new patients, or new clients. But the new clients we take on, we know and can prove we can help them. And I know that's what you do as well.
Yeah, it's about actually wanting to know who you want to work with,
Yep.
and really just being a little picky because you've created that environment. It takes time and effort to do that, but absolutely. And to drive home on the touch points too, Kelly, as far as making sure people are having follow up, a lot of times someone hears that and they're like, especially the front desk, they think that's more on me. Oh, are you kidding me? Like, now I have to do more. I have to call more. I have to send more. But there is automations. I always push this. It's crazy that we go into softwares and we typically find less than 10% of the softwares are being utilized. So the doctor might think that they're paying for this software anywhere from $500 to $700 a month. And it's literally they're using it as an appointment reminder, because if a complaint comes in with recall or treatment plan follow up or post-op instructions or what have you, if a complaint comes in, typically it is seen as that's more work, right? You don't want to have bad calls, so obviously you're just going to go and turn it off if you don't realize its main purpose, which is actually to take the workload off of the front, to have them not have to call every single person, but only call the people that when it's time to call them, because there's different communication avenues that people adapt to more. So I like to text. Like I prefer to text, but I know people that rather call. So then I would actually I physically call you, right? Like you'll all be texting, you're like calling me, and it's like, oh, I need to call Kelly.
Yeah.
Some people like to be emailed. Some people like to do instant messages, whatever that may be. You have to be available and prevalent on all of those platforms to make sure you're taking care of the patients. And there's no physical way that a human can do that for every single one. So you have to turn on the automations to help that
Well,
really make sure it's consistent.
when you think about that, though, here's another little pearl. Most offices don't ask the patients how they prefer to communicate. So they need
Yes.
to ask, do you prefer a text, email, or a phone call? Make a note, make sure you do that. And to your point, one of the things that a lot of offices think is when they bring in a coach, it's more work. It's not more work, it's different work. And if we've done our job right, we've made it easier. So a lot of systems, and with your technology, like you're talking about, they're only utilizing 10%. That's like taking a screwdriver and a screw and manually put it into the wood, right? Well, with your company, with Dental Intel, and working with us, we're giving you a power drill. It makes the job so much easier. Yes, I'm just screwing it into the board, but how much easier it is to use a power drill or a nail gun as opposed to hammer and nails. And it makes the job so much easier if you have the right tools. One of the things we love about working with you guys, one of the things we love working with Dental Intel and a few others, is they make it simpler for the team in ways that the team might not know their job can be easier. And doctors, the same thing. We give you the tools, training, and systems so that you can do what you like, and that's dentistry, in if we've done our job well, the type of dentistry you as a doctor want to do, right? I have doctors that hate doing crown and bridge and others that love it, right? Surprisingly, I got some doctors that just have incredible numbers, but they have an associate to do all the crown and bridge because they like doing sleep dentistry, or they like doing appliances, or they like doing, fill in the blank. And so it's just, again, if we're doing our things the way we want and you're looking at your numbers the right way, you can build the practice of your dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about control. And I like how you said that too, change, right? Change is scary is what it comes down to. But if you understand why you're doing it, I'm going back to the why, and knowing that it will give you more control over being picky with your patients, being picky with the treatment that you want to have, and just being able to control that type of environment that you want. Oh, you're going to be so much happier. And if you're happier, the team's happier. And if the team and you are happier, the patients are happier, and everyone's happy.
So, you've heard me say it before, but things that don't change stay the same, and things that stay the same become obsolete, right? And so
I love it.
Most doctors don't want to be obsolete, so you don't want to wait till you have to get new patients. You don't want to wait till you have to have higher case acceptance. And, the end part of this is one of the biggest challenges in the world today is retaining staff or employees. I joke that today's employee in general in the world, not dentistry specific, but if I gave someone a job today to go to sleep, they'd wake up in the morning and quit. That's the mentality of today's workers, right? They just don't want to do it. Your job is to go to sleep. Okay, I'm going to sleep. And they'll wake up in the morning and say, I don't like doing that. I'm going to quit. So if I've got higher case acceptance, I've got more patients coming in the door, I've got increase in my schedule, production and collection, what does that allow me to do? Reward my team better so they're not going elsewhere. If I can imply a really good culture in a team that has really clear understanding of our vision and what we're trying to provide for our patients, and we can produce and collect, I can give back in so many other ways. Most of it with my staff. I can improve my technology and my facility. I can market to provide more care to more people. There's so many ways I can go. Money's just a certificate for choices, right? So the more money I make, the more choices I can give or reward. And there's nothing better than giving to somebody, when you've been blessed.
It's official. You need to have a book of quotes, because I need all of this written down. You always have the best quotes and the best one-liners, and it's so empowering. I love it. It's this is why you're a coach.
Somebody told me, I don't know if you remember way back, there was that WWJD, what would Jesus do?
Yeah.
Someone told me I should write a book, What Would Kelly Say? They want to have these little bracelets, but yeah, we've been doing this for 30 years. We've worked with over 800 practices nationwide. We take on 15, 20 new clients a year, and we just love what we do. We really do. We like to make a difference. We like to help you problem solve. We come alongside the team, help them flush out those numbers, understand, put in a plan of action to take it to the next level, and we just love it.
I can tell. You're always I love picking your brain, Kelly. You're always so insightful and encouraging and motivating. And it's just, I love having you as a partner. So thank you so much. But yeah, Kelly, thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today. I always love talking with you and picking your brain. And thanks everybody else for tuning in. If you want to learn more about how to increase your profits and improve your patient retention with Kelly and his team, let them take care of you, you can visit his website at kellyschwartz.com or call them at 704-307-3867. And it's also included in this description. So we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks
Kelly.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.